Hey guys, this is a tutorial on how to install NFL 2K25 on your Android device. This is now officially supported thanks to Lost Souls, so special thanks to him. We're going to need Zarchiver to get things going. Zarchiver is a file manager that gets around the Android 13 restrictions to give us access to the AetherSX2 folder. So I have that link so you can download it. We're also going to need the emulator itself. AetherSX2 or NetherSX2 will work for our purposes here. I have the latest version of NetherSX2, which is version 1.9, also linked below where you can download it directly. This version has a lot of improvements for performance, especially for MediaTek devices, so I highly recommend that you get the latest one if you can. Obviously, you're going to need the BIOS itself. I have the archive linked with a bunch of BIOSes in a zip file. You can obviously extract yours from your PS2, and then you're going to need the game itself. If you don't already have a copy, you can buy one on eBay. They sell them for like 15-20 bucks. You want the PS2 version, you want the United States version. European does not work with this mod. As far as memory cards are concerned, the default memory cards are included in the mod itself. This is going to give you the latest rosters, the UFL roster, so all the good stuff is in that memory card. But if you want even more, I have the all-in-one memory cards linked below as well. This is going to give you 130 saves with rosters from the 60s to the present, more classic rosters. It's going to give you playbooks as well. So it's just more cumbersome to load because there's so many save files. It takes longer. I do have it split up into all-in-2 and all-in-4 memory cards, so you can split it up into fewer saves per memory card that way. But for the purpose of this tutorial, we're going to use the all-in-one, so I can show you how to use the mod and use the all-in-one. Kill two birds with one stone here. Obviously, you're going to need the mod itself if you haven't already downloaded it. I have the GitHub link below. Go ahead and go to that page and navigate to the Android download and get that downloaded to your phone or Android device. Now that we have all the downloads done, we're going to go ahead and extract the BIOS. Doesn't matter where you put it as long as you know where it is. Once that's done, install the emulator if you haven't already. Once we have the emulator installed, it's going to ask us a few opening questions. When you set it up initially, I just select the fast unsafe option. This game is very compatible, especially with the NetherSX2 version. Once we get through that, it'll ask us to import a BIOS. I'm going to go ahead and go into that folder that we extracted. I like the 7000 version. It doesn't really matter which one you pick. Any region BIOS is fine with this. Once that's done, we're going to go into the ISO folder and select that so the emulator knows where our games are located. And that is it for the initial setup of the emulator. We'll get to the other settings after we get the files moved around. Before we get to the files, we need to do a little cleanup if you've already installed this previously. So if you have any version before 1.03, the file structure has changed. So to clean that up, we need to delete the SLUS 20919 folder. If there's any special mods or anything, you can go ahead and copy that outside the folder. But just to be safe, so there's no interference, delete that. And then also, this is going to overwrite the default memory cards. So if you have anything in the memory cards folder, the memcards folder, by the name of NFL 2K25 underscore S1 or S2. If you've saved anything to that, you might want to rename that or copy that to another location. Once we get that all done, we want to actually copy the mod over. So to do that, we're going to open up the zip file. We're going to copy the files folder, and then we're going to navigate to Android data, scroll all the way down, xyz.aethersx2.android, and then we're going to paste the files right there on top of what's already there. If it asks you to overwrite, go ahead and overwrite. And now that we have that copied over, we can go ahead and select the mods that we want to use. So just so there's a little, sometimes people don't understand this, there's the main mod. The main mod is in your ZZZ folder. And then there's other mods that you can put on top of that. And there's a bunch of them. So the way to find that is to go to your textures, SLUS 20919. In there you see the folder InactiveMods. That's where all the mods are that you can copy over. So for the purpose of this tutorial, we're going to go ahead and select the CBS Xbox broadcast and the Xbox controller. I like to use the Xbox buttons. So we're going to select those two, and then we're going to copy it. We're going to go to replacements, ActiveMods. We're going to paste it right there. Now keep in mind, the system, we don't know which active mod is going to use if you have multiple of the same resource in there. So for instance, like, you're not going to want to put CBS and Fox in your active mods at the same time, because we don't really know which one's going to show. We don't have a way to control which one shows. So just delete whatever you're not using and have in there what you are using. Very simple, right? So if I want to go to a Fox broadcast, for instance, I would delete the CBS one, go back into my inactive mods and copy Fox over. You want to be careful though, do not delete anything in your inactive mods folder. Do not cut from your inactive mods folder, because that effectively deletes, right? Copy and paste from inactive to active, and then you can delete in your active mods. So once we have that settled with what mods we want, with the files done, we can copy the all-in-one memory card. You don't have to do this, you can use the default one, but we're going to do this for the sake of this tutorial. The only way to do this is to copy it directly to the memcards folder, because this all-in-one memory card is too large to be imported in the app directly. So we're going to go ahead and do that right now. So now that we have the files where we want it, we're going to go ahead and go back into the emulator and get things set up in the settings. One thing you really should understand is there are two types of settings in this emulator. There's the game settings and there's the app settings. When you're in the game itself, the game settings are going to be the eye icon, and the gear icon is going to be the app settings. The app settings are like your default settings, your foundational settings, and your game settings are going to overrule that. So just keep that in mind, because like for instance, if you have 4:3 aspect ratio set up in your game settings, it doesn't matter what you have in your app settings, it's going to still be 4:3. So if there's something that's off and you're trying to tweak it, it might be that you're in the wrong version. You want to get in game settings to see what's going on there. Okay, so just a little heads up. So let's go ahead and get into our app settings first. We're going to disable notifications. I just think they get in the way. Turbo speed, I'm going to crank up to 300%. The reason for this is because it's going to help us get through these menus faster with that all-in-one memory card. That's it for app settings. Let's go into game settings now. We're going to go ahead and do cycle rate at 60%. Some devices you can do more, but it doesn't get too choppy at 60%, I think, and it makes things run a lot faster. Cycle skip, that really depends on you. I keep mine at 1 or 2. I have a Snapdragon 888. Your device may need more cycle skips. You might need to frame skip more. If you have a really powerful device, you can get away with less. Multi-threaded VU1 should always be on with this game. Instant VU1 should be on with this game. Let's go to the graphics tab. You want the render to be set to Vulcan. 99% of all devices will be compatible with Vulcan with this game if you're using NetherSX2 version 1.9. Upscale Multiplier, set that wherever you feel is right. 3 is what I do. The higher you go, the higher the resolution, but the slower it is. Okay, so it depends on what device you're using. Mipmapping needs to be off. Absolutely needs to be off. If it's on, the mods will break when the camera is zoomed out. Okay, so leave that off. Texture preloading, set it to full if it's not set already. The aspect ratio, that depends on you. If you have it at 16:9, everything's going to be perfectly square like it was intended to be, but you're going to have the black bars on the side. If you have it to stretch, it will stretch things a little bit, but we can mitigate that as well, and I'll show you that in a second. FMV aspect ratio, you want that at 16:9. if you decide to stretch like what I do, then you can actually make it vertically stretched as well. You can go up to 190% without cropping things out too much, and then you want to crop your top at 8 pixels. Texture replacements absolutely need to be on. The main driver of this mod is texture replacements, so absolutely have to have that on. Asynchronous textures, that depends on you. If you turn that on, it's going to load the original textures while it's trying to load the new textures, so you'll see it kind of glitch a little bit, but it won't slow down your game. If you turn it off, then your game will stutter until the new textures can load. So it's up to you how you want to set that up. Memory card, make sure you select what you want to use. Okay, if we're using a default memory card, go in there and select the default memory card. For this tutorial, we're going to select 2K all. That's the all-in-one memory card. So now that we have the settings done, we're going to go ahead and get into the BIOS itself. So keep in mind, while we're in the BIOS, one thing you can do here, which is very helpful, is copy a memory card from one slot to the other. So I like to have one memory card like dedicated to default saves, and a second memory card where I keep my personal saves, and then you can copy back and forth that way. But all we're going to do in here is get into the options and change your aspect ratio to 16:9. That's going to keep your replay cuts and your graphics at the right aspect ratio. So now that we're done with that, we're going to go ahead and get into the game, and I'm going to show you how to navigate through the all-in-one memory card. So the first thing we're going to do is toggle the frame limiter. That's going to put things in fast forward 3 times as fast, so we'll get through this menu a lot faster. Once we get there, I'm going to navigate to load save, and then in the options, and then we're going to load this memory card up. It's going to take a minute to load. Now once this thing is loaded up, we can actually save the state. I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Once we've saved the state, we can back out of the game, and next time we start the game, we can load right back where we were. So we can skip through all these menus, all this loading time, and just load the state very simply. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. We already exit out of the game. We're going to load back into the game, toggle frame limiter, load state. Now I've got my memory card loaded up instantly, and with the frame limiter toggled, I can scroll through really quick. Okay. One thing I want to explain is the playbooks. The playbooks need to be loaded after you load the roster. Anytime you load a new roster, it's going to delete whatever playbooks you loaded. So for this example, we're going to play a current Bears-Packers game. So I'm going to select the most current roster. Now I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom. I'm going to select Green Bay. I'm going to select Chicago. Okay. So now that that's done, I'm going to show you how to load the game with the playbooks. So let's go to Quick Game, select our teams, and then before we start the game itself, I'm going to scroll down to Options, and then before the 49ers playbook is where you'll see the loaded playbooks. You'll know that they're the loaded playbooks because they use the city initials, not the team initials. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And now that we have the playbooks loaded, we're ready to go. So that's pretty much it to get things started. If you have any questions on how to set things up, you're having any troubles, feel free to join the Discord. On the Discord, you can actually share screenshots. So that's more ideal because, you know, it just makes it a lot easier to see what's going on with you, and we can show you how we got it set up. But feel free to leave a comment below as well. That helps the algorithm for more people to find this mod, which is also nice. Please like this video too for the same reason. I want to give a shout out to everyone that has helped out with this mod. Thank you so much to everybody that contributed, not just to the mod, but all these rosters that are in the all-in-one memory card, the franchises, the playbooks. This is not just my work. Okay, I didn't do much with this, to be honest. Like, Lost Soul did tons of work to get this together, and there are many others that contributed, more than I can even mention here. So special thanks to them. I hope you enjoy the game, and thank you for watching.